Welcome to all. In this video, we will see about Western blotting. The definition for Western blotting is the process of identifying a specific protein by following the extraction of protein, then resolving in SDS page and immobilization into a membrane, finally detection by antibodies. The Western blot helps to detect a specific protein, whether it is present or absent. If present, how much protein is expressed. Those things are identified, and we can determine the molecular weight of the protein. We can add the molecular ladders. By that way, we can identify the precise molecular weight of the proteins. In addition, we also measure the relative expression of the proteins present in different samples and their variation in the expressions at spatial and temporal levels. Three scientists are credited for the discovery of Western blot. The first one is Harry Taubin, and Taubin discovered the method to transfer the protein from the SDS page to the membranes using a buffer called Taubin's buffer. After that, detect the protein with the help of the primary antibody followed by secondary antibody conjugated with radiolabels. Even nowadays, this method is followed, and another scientist, Neil Burnett, he submitted his paper in 1979, but it took 2 years to get acceptance, and in his paper he coined the term Western blotting for detection of protein using this kind of technique. Another scientist, Stock, optimized this technique and he submitted his paper in April 1979 and it was published in July 1979. His paper was published first and he used the technique of transferring the protein, then probe with iodine 25 labeled protein A for the detection of protein. Now we will see the key stages in the Western blotting technique. The first one is extraction of protein from the samples. The sample may be cells or tissues or specific organs which is extracted from different growth stages or treated between different treatment conditions, etc. Once the protein is extracted, it is resolved in a sodium dodecyl sulfate polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis known as SDS page. Once it is resolved in the SDS page according to the size, then it is transferred to the solid support such as PVDF or nitrocellulose membrane. Mostly nylon is not used for Western blotting, but modern days the optimized nylon membranes are also used to substitute alcohols present in the transfer buffer. So once it is transferred, the protein is detected with the help of primary antibody specific to our protein of interest followed by secondary antibody conjugated with fluorescent dyes or enzymes or radio-labeled things. So in summary, the key steps to perform Western blot is discussed here. The first one is we have to extract the protein, then we have to perform SDS page and transfer the proteins from the gel to the membrane. Then after transferring, the following steps are followed. Initially, we have to immerse the membrane with non-fat dry milk powder or protein such as BSA solution so that it can uniformly binds to the membrane, so it will prevent the non-specific binding of antibody. Once blocking is completed, the membrane is probed with primary antibody that precisely binds with the protein of interest to be detected. In addition, antibodies for housekeeping proteins such as beta-actin also used that will be act as an endogenous control. So once primary antibody incubation is completed, the membrane is washed. During washing, the non-bound antibodies are removed from the membrane. Then the membrane is incubated with secondary antibody. The secondary antibody recognizes the primary antibody. At the same time, it is conjugated with certain chemiluminescent substances or enzymes or radiolabeled probes. Finally, after washing, the unbound secondary antibodies are released out and the secondary antibody binds to primary antibody which is tightly interacted with protein of interest is present in the membrane. And this is indirectly detected by chemiluminescent or colorimetric procedure or by autoradiography. Now we will see about the buffers used for the protein extraction. In general, three kinds of buffers are most commonly used. First buffer is called radioimmunoprecipitation assay buffer or commonly called as RIPA buffer, consisting of sodium chloride, Triton X, sodium deoxycholate, sodium dodecyl sulfate, and the solution pH is maintained at 8. The second buffer is phosphate buffer saline used for the soluble protein extraction. This consisting of sodium chloride, potassium chloride, sodium hydrogen phosphate and potassium dihydrogen phosphate. And another buffer, Lamelli buffer, used for extraction of proteins such as E. coli. Lamelli buffer consisting of bromophenol blue, beta mercaptoethanol, glycerol, sodium dodecyl sulfate and risk HCl. And according to different types of samples, protein extraction methods will vary. We will see common samples and their extraction buffers. The first one is suspension cell culture. Generally, RIPA buffer is used after pelleting the cells. It is mixed with RIPA buffer so that the protein is extracted and present in the supernatant. For hardened tissues, tissue lyser or homogenizer is used to separate the tissues. Extraction buffer such as RIPA or PBS is used to extract the protein. For plant leaves, phosphate buffer saline to extract the protein. In case of E. coli, the pellet can be mixed with RIPA buffer to extract the protein. Alternatively, 2x Lamelli buffer is added to the E. coli pellets and it is processed for SDS page. Now we will briefly look about the sample processing prior to SDS page. First, we have to quantify the protein concentration. This may be achieved by Bradford assay. Equal quantity of protein is taken from the different treatment conditions and made up to equal volume. Then it is added with loading dye such as Lamelli buffer up to 1x concentration. This mixture is kept at 95 degrees Celsius for 5 minutes to denature the proteins. Immediately kept in ice for 1 minute, and now the sample is ready to load in SDS page. So once the sample is processed, equal volume of sample is loaded into the wells of stacking gel portion of the SDS page, and initially the gel is run at low power for 20 minutes, approximately 10 milliampere per gel, and after that, once the protein samples are reaching the resolving gel, the electric current may be increased, for example 2 times up to 20 milliamperes, and if possible run the setup in cold chamber at 4 degrees Celsius to avoid the heat production. Next, briefly we will see about the membranes used for protein transfer. The most common and desirable membrane is PVDF membrane. This membrane is reported by the scientist Edman, and it is highly hydrophobic and must be pre-wetted with methanol for 30 seconds for efficient transfer. It is suitable for high protein affinity, as well as we can repeatedly strip and reprobe with different antibodies to detect different proteins in the same membrane for several times. And it is suitable for transient staining with dyes such as Pontius red to confirm the protein transfer. The second membrane is nitrocellulose membrane. Nitrocellulose membrane have the advantage of high protein binding affinity, whereas the weakness is it is highly fragile, so it is difficult to strip and reuse the same membrane for detection of several different proteins in the same membrane. And nylon membrane is having affinities with proteins, but non-specific bindings may occur. So modern days advanced membranes such as CQ blot PVDF, which show the capacity to capture large amount of proteins, and another membrane called Zeta probe nylon, which can work in transfer solution without the presence of alcohol. Now we will see the preparations for the protein transfer setup. Initially we have to equilibrate the gel in Taubin buffer. The buffer is prepared by adding tris glycine buffer and pH is adjusted to 8.3 here to set up. Generally immerse the gel for briefly 5 minutes inside the Taubin buffer. And also the PVDF membranes are pre-equilibrated in absolute methanol for 30 seconds to 1 minute to minimize the hydrophobic effect. The buffer is pre-chilled by keeping in refrigerator for 30 minutes prior to start. And the setup of transfer procedures are discussed in the next part. So the classical capillary methods involve taking up a big container and pour the buffer in the bottom, then place a raised platform inside the buffer, and over which filter paper towel pre-wetted with transfer buffer is placed, over which thick filter papers pre-wetted with buffer is placed. Generally 3 filter pads are placed, over which the gel is placed, the SDS page is placed, above which the membrane is placed. Care should be taken to avoid the presence of any air bubbles between the membrane and the gel. And again, 3 layers of thick pre-wetted filter pads are placed over the membrane, over which dry towel paper or filter papers are stacked up to 10 to 15 centimeter height, over which a weight approximately 800 gram to 1 kg is placed, and the entire setup is left for overnight or weekend for complete transfer of proteins, or more than 90% of the proteins transferred from the SDS page gel to the membrane. So this capillary method is classical method and heat is not producing, so it is desirable for classical method of Western blotting. The disadvantage of this classical method is time consuming to perform the transfer. Electrode transfer techniques that have the advantage of shortening the time to transfer the proteins from the gel to the membrane. Two methods are there, one is called wet transfer and second one is called semi-dry transfer. So in both cases, the gel is placed in the negative electrode side and membrane is facing the positive electrode side, and this setup is sandwiched by pre-wetted filter pads to perform the transfer. Electrophoresis principle is followed. Since the proteins are negatively charged, they are moving towards positive electrode membrane before the positive electrode will capture the proteins with high affinity. In wet transfer, entire set of gel, membrane and filter pad sandwich are fully immersed inside the electrophoresis apparatus, whereas in the case of semi-dry transfer, pre-wetted filter pads followed by gel, over which pre-wetted membrane again sandwiched by filter pads, then the transfer will take place. And the wet transfer will take 1 to 4 hours time, and semi-dry transfer generally takes 5 to 20 minutes of time. To prevent the heat production, the wet transfer apparatus is kept inside the cold chamber at 4 degrees Celsius. Similarly, semi-dry transfer also performed at cold room at 4 degrees Celsius. So once transfer is completed, next stage is we have to detect the protein by antibodies. So now we will see about the how antibodies are probed with the protein. Once the transfer is completed, wash the membrane in tris buffer saline or phosphate buffer saline with 0.1% of twin 20 for 1 minute. So once the membrane is washed with PBS or TBS buffer, the membrane is incubated in blocking buffer. Blocking buffer is made up of 2 to 5% of non-fat dry milk powder or 1% BSA powder. This uniformly binds to non-protein regions of the membrane, so that during primary and secondary antibody incubations, non-specific interaction with the membranes will be avoided. So once blocking is completed, the membrane is washed briefly by PBS or TBS T buffers and kept in a shaker for 5 minutes, and again change the wash buffer 3 more times. So once the washing is completed, the membrane is incubated with primary antibody, which is prepared by diluting 1:1000 in the blocking buffer and kept 1 hour in the room temperature or keep overnight in the refrigerator. After primary antibody incubation, the membrane is taken out, washed 3 times with PBS or TBST, then it was incubated with secondary antibody, which is diluted with 1:1000 to 1:10,000 and incubated for 30 minutes in room temperature. Now the membrane is ready for detection of proteins. So now we will see how the protein is detected after incubated with secondary antibody. After secondary antibody incubation, the membrane is washed 3 times with PBS TBS buffers. After that, if the secondary antibody is containing alkaline phosphatase, which is detected by colorimetric method using BCIP and NCP, we can visually see the thick brown bands over the membrane. If the secondary antibody is conjugated with horseradish peroxidase, commonly known as HRP, then the reagents such as TMB, DAB or APTS are used, and the resulting chromogenic substances are detected in a chemiDAC apparatus or by autoradiography. Now we will see the advantages and disadvantages of Western blotting techniques. The Western blotting technique is a sensitive technique to detect even nanogram and femtogram levels of proteins, and it has very high specificity to proteins. Even from a mixture of 1000 different protein samples, single protein is clearly identified by Western blotting technique. And third advantage is it is widely used confirmatory diagnostic tool to detect the presence of trace amounts of immunogenic responses of pathogens in blood samples. So it is highly useful to detect virus infections such as HIV, etc. And we can able to compare differential expression of a specific protein at different situations. For example, control versus infected conditions is possible by Western blotting in research purpose. And the disadvantage is it will take more time and cost per sample is comparatively high, and it demands technical skill, and it is not a high throughput like ELISA. And in some cases, the Western blot will produce false positive and false negative result. Thank you.